In the Atlantic slave trade, over 3.5 million slaves were taken to Brazil, 10 times more than America. Even today, Brazil and Africa have a strong connection, making Brazil the second largest black population in the world. Africans were brought because the voyage was easy and extremely cheap. The Portuguese brought over the Africans to work the growing sugar demands of the world. At the height of the sugar boom, 40% of Brazil's slave population was involved in the cultivation of cane. From the 1580s, the importation of Africans to Brazil increased dramatically. After the initial expansion of the sugar industry, blacks soon constituted over two-thirds of the population of the Northeast. Since the voyage was so easy and the slaves were so cheap, they were treated badly. Their life expectancy was no more than 6 to 7 years.
From Angola and Nigeria, African slaves brought over to Brazil a religion called Candomblé, based on African gods. And its mixture of culture combines Catholicism with the African culture. Rituals were performed involving rhythmic dancing, cigar smoking, reenacting religious stories, and at the peak of their spirituality would enter into a trance, showing submission to the power of the Eryx's African gods. Macumba, another religion which developed under slavery as a form more associated with what might be called witchcraft, and utilized the Eryxes to bring harm to enemies of the slaves that show deep religious feelings. Umbanda, a popular religion founded in 1904 that combines elements of African beliefs with Buddhism and Hinduism. Umbanda also merges African religions with Catholicism, Spiritism, and other indigenous aspects. This religion originated late 19th century in Rio de Janeiro, Brazil. It is believed that there is a supreme god called Olaram, with many other gods who come second after Olaram in a spirit world with 3 levels, which are pure spirit, good spirits, and dark spirits. Reincarnation also played a major role.
The Afro-Brazilian diaspora communities show great importance in cultural production regarding clothes and appearance. During the 18th century, Africans forced into slavery were dressed in round, long puff skirts and tops to escort their masters at wealthy gatherings. Now, during special occasions, such as carnivals and celebrations, they strongly express their culture through their clothing. This is because material culture is a key component of expressing who a specific group is and where they come from. In the Afro-Brazilian region of Bahia, black women known as baianas dress in clothing inspired by 18th century attire. Colorful full-length skirts are worn with delicately embroidered white blouses, sometimes worn off the shoulder. They also wear scarves or turbans, which are wrapped tightly around their heads. Brightly colored beads are worn by both men and women. The beads have religious symbolic meaning that represent the Eryxes, who are known to be spiritual guardians who protect the people from harm. The color of the beads reflect the African Candomblé god that is special to the wearer.
Capoeira is a form of martial arts influenced dance, which is thought to have originated in the 16th century in Brazil by Africans. It was first created by slaves who were taken from West Africa to Brazil by the Portuguese. They were prohibited from celebrating their cultural customs and strictly forbidden from practicing any martial art. Capoeira was the most prominent force in the informal preservation Afro-Brazilian culture, a unique blend of dance and fight. Developed in the slave shack as a way to fight their masters, capoeira had been described as the fight of a ballet dancer and the dance of gladiators. In the sugar plantations, weapons were not allowed, but black people were tortured and needed a way to defend themselves. So they discovered using capoeira gave them a way to strengthen themselves. Capoeira was a form of training designed for self-defense. If the slaves were caught practicing martial arts, they would be punished. Capoeira allowed them to disguise their training as a dance.
Diasporas are places of contestation and struggle. Brazil was the last country in the Western Hemisphere to abolish slavery in 1888. Racial whitening laws called branqueamento were passed in 1888 as well. The Brazilian government paid for more than 4 million white Europeans to migrate to Brazil in hopes that new immigrants would outnumber the black people and breed with them to Europeanize the Brazilian gene pool. Branqueamento, or racial whitening, was replaced by racial democracy government in 1933. The term racial democracy implies a belief that Brazil has escaped racism and racial discrimination. But Brazil's distribution of wealth and high poverty levels for blacks proves otherwise. Many black Brazilians complain of racial discrimination. Many blacks live in slums. Although blacks have a large population in Brazil, less than 20% are admitted into Brazilian colleges. Many black Brazilians struggle with issues of identity because there is a limited representation of blacks in the media and the pop culture. In a country built on the backs of African slaves, in a social fabric designed to dilute and heathenize African culture, it is these cultural productions of dance, of fashion, as well as religion that lessen displacement and give black Brazilians pride in their African Brazilian roots.